Hare Krishna. Today we'll continue with the Uddhava Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 8, the story of Pingala. But before we come to the story of Pingala, we have 10 verses to go. We will speak about the elephant and about the bee again. We will hear the lesson of the deer, and then we will come to the story of Pingala. So the Avadhuta Brahman will share with us a few more spiritual masters. Verse 13 is the elephant. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudiyayat Nastavesya Bhatrasya Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavate Uttamasloke Bhaktivavta Naistike Padapiyo Vatim Bhikshu Nasprishat Daravim Api Prishankari Bhatyeta Karinya Anya Sangatam. Translation. A saintly person should never touch a young girl. In fact, he should not even let his foot touch a wooden doll in the shape of a woman. By bodily contact with a woman is surely be captured by illusion, just as the elephant is captured by the she-elephant due to his desire to touch her body. The Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj comments, this is a trick for capturing wild elephants. The madness of the elephant is compared to the arrow of Cupid. Male elephants are attracted to enjoying female elephants. An intelligent devotee should adopt a mood contrary to this. This is the wisdom of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. Don't be like the mad elephant. Nectar of Instruction teaches us there is a straight line between the tongue, belly, and genitals. If one eats whatever he pleases, it leads to sexual desire. So Rupa Goswami makes a connection between the greedy bee who eats anything and the elephant maddened by Cupid. So, text 14. A man possessing intelligent discrimination should not, under any circumstances, try to exploit a beautiful form of a woman for his sense gratification. Just as an elephant trying to enjoy a she-elephant is killed by other bull elephants also enjoying her company, one trying to enjoy a lady's company can at any moment be killed by her other lovers who are stronger than he. Papa, just as one is enchanted by the beautiful form of a woman, many other men will also be enchanted, and there is danger that they will be stronger than oneself and may even jealously kill one. Crimes of passion are extremely common. This is another disadvantage of material life. Text 15. Now we are coming back to the bee. Text 15. A greedy person accumulates a large quantity of money with great struggle and pain. But a person who has struggled so much to acquire this wealth is not always allowed to enjoy in himself or give it in charity to others. The greedy man is like the bee who struggles to produce a large quantity of honey, which is then stolen by a man who will enjoy it personally or sell it to others. No matter how carefully one hides his hard-earned wealth or tries to protect it, there are those who are expert in detecting the whereabouts of valuable things, and they will steal it. So the lesson here is, if you are collecting wealth, it does not mean you will enjoy the wealth. You have wealth, family members may steal it, or the tax collector may send a bill, and there you go, in the middle of the purport, somewhere here. Furthermore, there are so-called investment counselors who are expert in stealing money of rich people. And in the modern age, governments also become expert in stealing money by taxation. Thus the word artavit indicates one who by hook or crook is expert in stealing the hard-earned wealth of other people. The bees work frantically to produce honey, but they will not enjoy their honey. As Lord Krishna states, Mrityu Sarva Harasaham, I will come as death personified and steal everything. Bhagavad Gita 10:34. Somehow or other, one's hard-earned material opulence will be stolen, and therefore, as mentioned in this verse, one should not work uselessly like the foolish honeybee. Datta. So yes, that I think many of us may have experienced this. But who takes it away? That's interesting. That's in the next verse, verse 16. Just as a hunter takes away the honey laboriously produced by the honeybee, similarly, saintly mendicants such as brahmacharis and sannyasis are entitled to enjoy the property painstakingly accumulated by householders dedicated to family enjoyment. It are the brahmacharis and the sannyasis who take away the painstakingly accumulated wealth from the householders. So we have the purport. Someone wants to read the purport, please.
The scriptures state saintly mendicants in the sannyasa order of life and brahmacharis have first right to enjoy the sumptuous foodstuffs produced by the householders. If the householders enjoy such foodstuff without first offering them in charity to the mendicants, such neglectful householders must undergo the lunar fast called Chandrayanam. In family life, one must overcome the natural tendency towards selfishness by giving abundant charity. Modern society foolishly does not observe such Vedic injunctions, and as a result, the world has become overrun by envious grihamedis, or persons wholly and solely dedicated to personal sense gratification in family life. Therefore, the whole world is seized in an uncontrollable spasm of violence and suffering. If one wants to live peacefully, one must follow the Vedic injunctions regulating family life. Although the householders work very hard to accumulate money, the saintly sannyasis and brahmacharis have the right to first enjoy the fruits of such labor. The conclusion is that one should give first priority to spiritual advancement in Krishna consciousness and thus perfect one's life. Then, even without personal endeavor, one will be supplied all of one's necessities by the mercy of the personality of Godhead.
Yes. That now I want to go to a verse in the fourth canto, not the fourth, see the right verse, chapter 24, text 64. My dear Lord, after creating by your own potencies, you enter within the creation in four kinds of forms. Being within the heart of the living entities, you know them and know how they are enjoying their senses. The so-called happiness of this material creation is exactly like the bee's enjoyment of honey after it has been collected in the honeycomb. That then the purport is the many paragraphs. Yeah. Can someone read this last paragraph? Does the Lord simply witnesses?
Yes, Maharaj. Thus the Lord simply witnesses and gives the living entity sanction for sense enjoyment. It is the Paramatma also who gives the intelligence by which the bees can construct a hive, collect a honey from various flowers, store it, and enjoy it. Although the Paramatma is aloof from the living entities, he knows their intentions, and he gives them facilities by which they can enjoy or suffer the results of their actions. Human society is exactly like a beehive, for everyone is engaged in collecting honey from various flowers, or collecting money from various sources, and creating large empires for common enjoyment. However, after these empires are created, the bites of other nations have to be suffered. Sometimes nations declare war upon one another, and the human beehives become sources of misery. Although human beings are creating their beehives in order to enjoy the sweetness of their senses, they are at the same time suffering from the bites of other persons or nations. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Paramatma, is simply witnessing all these activities. The conclusion is that both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Jivas enter into this material world. However, the Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is worshipable because he has arranged for the happiness of the living entity in the material world. Because it is a material world, however, no one can enjoy any kind of happiness without inebriety. Material enjoyment means inebriety,
Yep.
inebriety, whereas spiritual enjoyment means pure enjoyment under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
So the pure enjoyment under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under the protection of Ladini Shakti is better. That's a conclusion. But I have another verse which clarifies this also a bit more. Go back. And that is in the fifth canto. Fifth canto, verse chapter 13. Further talks between Raugana and Jadbharat. Text 10. I just read the translation. Sometimes, in order to have a little insignificant sex enjoyment, one searches after debauched women. In this attempt, one is insulted and chastised by the women's kinsmen. This is like going to take honey from a beehive and being attracted by the bees. Sometimes, after spending lots of money, one may acquire another woman for some extra sense enjoyment. Unfortunately, the object of sense enjoyment, the woman, is taken away or kidnapped by another debauchee. Yeah, that's the complications of the material world. Go back to the next lesson from the Abhadutta, text 17. A saintly person dwelling in the forest in the renounced order of life should never listen to songs or music promoting material enjoyment. Rather, a saintly person should carefully study the example of the deer, who is bewildered by the sweet music of the hunter's horn, and is thus captured and killed. So that's the lesson of sound. The fish was captured by the tongue. The elephant became a victim of touch. And here we have the lesson of sound. Now, text 18. Becoming attracted to worldly singing, dancing, and musical entertainment of beautiful women, even the great sage Risasringa, the son of Mrihi, fell totally under their control, just as a pet animal. Risasringa, Mayan. So can someone read the purport, please?
Maharaj.
Yes, please.
Rishyasringa, the young son of sage Mrugi, was intentionally brought up by his father in an atmosphere of complete innocence. Mrugi Rishi thought that if his son were never exposed to the sight of woman, he would always remain a perfect brahmachari. But by chance, the inhabitants of the neighboring kingdom, who were suffering from a long term drought, received a divine advice that rain would return to their kingdom only after the Brahmana named Rishyasringa stepped foot in it. Therefore, they sent a beautiful woman to the hermitage of Mrugi to entice Rishyasringa and bring him back with them. Since Rishyasringa had never even heard about women, he easily fell for their trap. The name Rishyasringa indicates that the young sage was born with a deer-like horn growing out of his forehead. If a deer If the deer, a rishi, becomes attracted to sweet musical sounds promising sense gratification, then, like the deer, he quickly vanquished. A thoughtful person should humbly take instruction from the deer who is doomed by attraction to musical sense gratification. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
So that's a practical example of the previous verse. That now we come to the fish. Just as a fish incited by the desire to enjoy his tongue is fatally trapped on the fisherman's hook, similarly a foolish person is bewildered by the extremely disturbing urges of the tongue and thus is ruined. That so text 20. By fasting, learned men quickly bring all senses except the tongue under control, because by abstaining from eating, such men are afflicted with an increased desire to gratify the sense of taste. That this is text 20. Yeah? Yeah. Can someone read the purport?
Yes, Maharaj.
Please.
In South America, there is a saying that when the belly is full, the heart is content. Thus, one who is eating sumptuously is jolly, and if one is deprived of proper food, one's appetite becomes even more voracious. An intelligent person, however, does not fall under the control of the tongue, but rather tries to make progress in Krishna consciousness. By accepting the remnants of food offered to the Lord, prasadam, one gradually purifies the heart and automatically becomes simple and austere. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur states that the business of the tongue is to gratify itself with the varieties of flavor, but by wandering in 12 holy forests of Braja Mandala, Vrindavan, one can be freed from the 12 flavors of material sense gratification. The five principal divisions of material relationships are neutral, admiration, servitude, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. The seven subordinate features of the material relationships are material humor, astonishment, chivalry, compassion, anger, dread, and ghastliness. Originally, these 12 rasas or flavors of relationships are exchanged between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity in the spiritual world, and by wandering in the 12 forests of Vrindavan, one can re spiritualize the 12 flavors of personal existence. Thus, one will become a liberated soul, free from all material desires. If one artificially tries to give up sense gratification, especially that of the tongue, the attempt will be a failure, and in fact, one's desire for sense gratification will increase as a result of artificial deprivation. Only by experiencing real spiritual pleasure in relationship with Krishna can one give up material desires.
Vishwanath. The moth is described by attraction to form. The bee is destroyed by attraction to smell. The elephant is destroyed by attraction to touch. The deer is destroyed by attraction to sound. The fish is destroyed by attraction to taste. It has been said, Kurang ramatang rapatang rabinga, mina hata pancha bireva pancha. Ekapamadi sakatam nahanyate, yasevate panchabir eva pancha. The deer, elephant, moth, sea, bee, and fish are destroyed by the five sense objects. How can an insane person who engages all senses in the five sense objects not be destroyed? This is from the Garuda Purana. The tongue, which endows the other senses with their functions by eating food, is a cause of obstacles. Therefore, one should make efforts to control it. This is explained in 2 verses. If one gives up eating, one conquers all the senses except the tongue. The urge of the tongue increases by fasting. If one eats, all senses become agitated by attachment to taste. Therefore, one must conquer the tongue. Then all the senses following it will be conquered. One can control the tongue by developing a taste for chanting loudly the name of the Lord. It is said, Visaya vinivartante nirasya dena rasvaram rasopyasa paramdrastva nivartate. One who refrains from eating also stops the sense objects from functioning, but the desire for tasting remains. Having experienced a higher taste, one cannot stop the desire for material taste. Bhagavad Gita 2:59. You may fast, but you may not get the desired result. If you eat Krishna Prasad, but not too much, you get the benefit of fasting. That is the purport.
Maharaj?
Yes?
Maharaj, that destruction of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in overcoming the 12 rasas for tongue, one should wander in 12 forests of Vrindavan. Should we take it literally?
Well, of course. I went three times. I did practically the complete Vajramandal Parikram, 30 days, and we go to the 12 forests of Vrindavan. And I must say, during that time, I had no problems with conquering the tongue. That's true. That's true. We took twice a day prasadam, and our thoughts were not in eating. So, as long as you do that, certainly, that's true. But when you stop the parikram, you have to be careful.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Maharaj, one question.
Yes.
Maharaj, that in the earlier purport it was said that one should not, Grihastha should feed the sannyasis and brahmacharis. And the Shastra says that one should not eat very delicious food. Balona khaive, balona podive. So how to understand?
Yeah, that there must be a balance for sure. That if you eat too rich food, you will not be able to keep your vow of sannyas, your brahmachari.
Yeah, yesterday also it was there in the topic.
Yeah, so that is a point we need to be careful. But I would say that is individual. And I think yesterday we spoke about also listening to the body, what you can eat, and so on. So, yes, you can accept charity, but does not mean whatever you get or whatever you have been offered, you have to accept it. You have to accept it between the means of what you can digest and what you can eat for a healthy, balanced life. And that's for everyone different. Ayurveda says you can digest what you can eat, keeping your two hands. That's the contents of your stomach. You can digest in one time. You should not eat more. So that is always a challenge. And there's a challenge for the brahmacharis and sannyasis that never ends. That pressure will always be there. That they want you to eat nicely, but you can only eat what you can digest and what keeps your vows. So yes, that is always that. Some sannyas candidate asked Prahlad Anonymous, what do we do? Yes, the householders, they want to give us so much food, but we can't eat so much. And Prahlad Maharaj said, you talk a lot and eat very little. Anyway, we have to find ways how to balance it, and that's our responsibility. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Text 21. Although one may conquer all of the other senses, as long as the tongue is not conquered, it cannot be said that one has controlled his senses. However, if one is able to control the tongue, then one is understood to be in full control of all the senses. That, yes. Yes, it's a long purport, but we'll read the first paragraph. By eating, one gives energy and activity to all the senses, and thus if the tongue is uncontrolled, all of the senses will be dragged down to the material platform of existence, unless the tongue is controlled. Yeah. Therefore, by all means, one must conquer the tongue. If one fasts, then all the other senses become weak and lose their potency. The tongue, however, becomes more greedy to taste the delicious preparations, and when one finally indulges the tongue of all the senses quickly go out of control. Therefore, Srila Vishwanath Bhakti Thakur advises that one accept Mahaprasad or the remnants of the Lord's food in a moderate proportion, Since the tongue's function is also to vibrate, one should vibrate the glories of the holy name of the Supreme Lord and taste the ecstasy of pure Krishna consciousness. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Rasavaram Rasopya Sa Param Dristvani Vartate. Only by the higher taste of Krishna consciousness, one can give up the deadly lower taste that keeps one in prisons in material bondage. Yeah. So here we have Bhaktivedanta Sarasvati. As long as one's intelligence is materially covered, one cannot understand the pleasure of Krishna consciousness. Trying to enjoy without Krishna, the living entities leaves the abode of the Supreme Lord called Vrajabhumi and comes down into the material world. Very quickly loses control of his senses. One becomes particularly victimized by the tongue, belly, and genitals, which exert intolerable pressure on the conditioned soul. These desires subside, however, when one re-establishes one's blissful relationship with the Lord, who is actually the reservoir of all pleasure. One who is attached to the taste of Krishna consciousness automatically follows all of the rules and regulations of religious life due to spontaneous attraction to Visuddha Sattva, or the mode of pure goodness. Without such spontaneous attraction, one is certainly bewildered by the pushing of the material senses. Even the beginning stage of devotional service, called sadhana bhakti, regulatory practice, is so powerful that it brings one to the platform of anartha nivritti, where one becomes free from unwanted sinful habits and gains relief from the pressure of the tongue, belly, and genitals. Thus one is delivered from the bondage of material addiction and no longer be cheated by the allurements of the material energy. And it is said, all that glitters is not gold. In this regard, Srila Bhaktivedanta Sarasvati Thakur recommends that we consider the following song by his father, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and that's the famous song, Sarya Avijajal, which we know all by heart. No problem. That now we come to the story of Pingala. And we will go to the entire story till the last verse and then read some comments. So I'm going, what's the theme here? It's the story of Pingala. Material desires are the cause of distress. That's the theme. And how will she overcome them? So I tell the story first by reading all the translations. O son of kings, previously in the city of Vidya, there dwelt a prostitute named Pingala. Now please hear what I've learned from that lady. Once that prostitute desired to bring a lover into her house, stood outside in the doorway at night, showing her beautiful form. For best among men, this prostitute was very anxious to get money, and as she stood on the street at night, she studied all the men who were passing by, thinking, oh, this one surely has money. I know he can pay the price, and I'm sure he would enjoy my company very much. Thus she thought about all men on the street. As the prostitute Pingala stood in the doorway, many men came and went, walking by her house. Her only means of sustenance was prostitution, and therefore she anxiously thought, may this one who is coming now is very rich. Oh, he's not stopping, but I'm sure someone else will come. Surely this man who is coming now will want to pay me for my love, and he will probably give lots of money. Thus, with vain hope, she remained leaning against the doorway, unable to finish her business and go to sleep. Out of anxiety, she would sometimes walk out to the street, and sometimes she went back into her house. In this way, the midnight hour fairly arrived. That 27. As the night wore on, the prostitute who intensely desired money gradually became morose and her face dried up, thus being filled with anxiety for money and most disappointed. She began to feel a great attachment from the situation, and happiness arose in her mind. So can someone read the purport?
It appears from these verses that on this particular night, the prostitute Pingla was not at all successful in attracting customers to her house. Being completely frustrated and disappointed, she gradually became indifferent to her situation. Thus, great suffering sometimes leads one to the path of enlightenment, or according to a Sanskrit proverb, disappointment gives rise to great satisfaction. The prostitute had dedicated her life to satisfying the lusty desires of many men. Engaging her mind, body, and words in the service of paying lovers, she completely forgot the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus her mind was most unsteady and disturbed. Finally, being completely frustrated, her face and throat drying up, she began to feel indifferent to her situation, and happiness arose in her mind.
So, what is the process described here? First frustration, then disappointment, then indifference, and then happiness. That's the process described here. That is what she went through. So, 27. The prostitute felt disgusted with her material situation and thus became indifferent to it. Indeed, attachment acts like a sword cutting to pieces the binding network of material hopes and desires. Now please hear from me the song sung by the prostitute in that situation. Now, the Pingala Gita, the song by the prostitute. We will hear this 28. Vishvanashka Bhaktita Shrinu Yata Mama means hear from me as it is. The attachment is a sword for cutting the ropes produced by the hopes for material enjoyment. 29. O King, just as a human being who is bereft of spiritual knowledge never desires to give up his false sense of proprietorship over many material things, similarly a person who has not developed attachment never desires to give up the bondage of the material body. So this verse describes the necessity of the attachment, Vishwanath writes, verse 30. The prostitute Pingala said, just see how greatly illusioned I am. Because I cannot control my mind just like a fool. I desire lusty pleasure from an insignificant man. And someone read the second paragraph here of the purport, only the second paragraph. It appears from this verse.
Yes, Maharaj. It appears from this verse that the prostitute Pingla was not only earning her livelihood through prostitution, but was actually unable to read, but was actually enjoying her illicit contact with innumerable men. The words Kantat Asataha indicate that she was freely selling herself without discrimination to the most ordinary and useless men, considering them to be lovers. Thus she says, I was a great fool. The word Balisha means one who has a childish mentality without practical experience of right and wrong.
It was text 31. I am such a fool that I have given up the service of that person who, being eternally situated in my heart, is actually most dear to me. That most dear one is the Lord of the universe, is the bestower of the real love and happiness and the source of all prosperity. Although he is in my own heart, I've completely neglected him. Instead, I have ignorantly served insignificant men who can never satisfy my real desires and who have simply brought me unhappiness, fear, anxiety, lamentation, and illusion. That is 31. Pingala laments that she chose to serve most sinful, useless men. She falsely thought they would bring her happiness and neglected to serve the actual Lord of the heart, Krishna. She could understand how foolishly she had struggled for money, not knowing that the Supreme Lord is always inclined toward prosperity to his sincere devotee. Prostitute was proud of her ability to please men, but she now laments that she did not try to please the Supreme Lord by loving service. The Supreme Lord is completely aloof from the transactions of the material world. Lord Krishna is the actual enjoyer of everyone and everything, but one must learn how to please the Lord by pure spiritual service. That so she had realization. I'm also reading the Vishwanath's commentary, the Lord in my heart, the enjoyer. Why do I not give love to him? He gives love. Why should he not give love to me? What is the use of other men who are full of sin? He gives wealth. Being pleased with my love, he will give the greatest wealth. Others are not capable of giving full satisfaction. I calm them. In this way she thought of the Lord. Some authorities say that she thought in this way by the great mercy of Dattatreya, who happened to rest in her yard that night. Yes, that is the cause of our detachment. Oh, how I have usually tortured my own soul. I have sold my body to lusty, greedy men who are themselves objects of the pity. Just practicing the most abominable profession of a prostitute, I hope to get money and sex pleasure. So now she's becoming philosophical. 33. The material body is like a house in which I, the soul, am living. The bones are forming my spine, ribs, arms, and legs are like the beams, cross beams, and pillars of the house, and the whole structure, which is full of stool and urine, is covered by skin, hair, and nails. The 9 doors leading into this body are constantly execrating foul substances. Besides me, what woman could be so foolish to devote herself to this material body, thinking that she might find pleasure and love in this contraption, in this trap? Contraption is a trap. That so she goes into philosophy. 34. Certainly, in this city of Vidya, I alone am completely foolish. I neglected the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who awards us everything, even our original spiritual form, and instead I desire to enjoy sense gratification with many men. 35. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is absolutely the most dear one for all living beings, because he's everyone's well-wisher and Lord. He is the Supreme Lord situated in everyone's heart. Therefore, I will now pay the price of complete surrender, and thus purchasing the Lord, I will enjoy with him, just like Lakshmi Devi. So, and now it's not here. This is verse 35. It's not mentioned here, but there is also a commentary from Jiva Goswami that says he says she's experienced ruchi, the state of ruchi. She get taste, which is beyond liberation. It's 36. Man provides sense gratification for women, but all these men, and even the demigods in heaven, have a beginning and an end. They are all temporary creations who will be dragged away by time. Therefore, how much actual pleasure or happiness could any of them ever give to their wives? That 36. Yeah, 37. Although I'm stubbornly hoped, I most stubbornly hoped to enjoy the material world. Somewhere or other, the attachment has arisen in my heart, and it is making me very happy. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu must be pleased with me. Without even knowing it, I must have performed some activity satisfying to him. So we spoke about these 24 gurus, but this is the only verse in the 24 gurus which mentions directly Lord Vishnu. We will read the commentary of Vishwanath Bhakti Thakur. Discerning in this way, she glorifies her good fortune. O best of detached persons, today make my yard successful by your mercy. Come here and rest, eat and drink. Having addressed Dattatreya, who had arrived on his own, she began to clean and decorate the place at night. This is the explanation of some authorities. But we have also on this verse 37, commentary of Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj, which I will try to find here. Yes. So, in this regard, one should contemplate on the purport of the following verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam 11, 23, 28. Nunam me bhagavam stushta sarvadeva mayohari yena nito dashametan nirveda satmana prabha. The Supreme Lord Hari, who is the Lord of laws, must have been pleased with me, because by his mercy I have developed the mood of detachment, which is the means for my deliverance from the ocean of material association. So it seems that she got association of Dattatreya and the Avaduta Brahman and became Krishna conscious. And now something changed in our consciousness, that she started to see our suffering as a mercy of the Lord. A person who has developed attachment can give up bondage of material society, friendship, and love. And a person who undergoes great suffering gradually becomes, out of hopelessness, detached and indifferent to the material world. Thus, due to my great suffering, such attachment awoke in my heart. Yet, how could I have undergone such merciful suffering if I were actually unfortunate? Therefore, I am in fact fortunate and have received the mercy of the Lord. He must some way or another be pleased with me. That text 39. With devotion, I accept the great benefit that the Lord has bestowed upon me, having giving up my sinful desires for ordinary sense gratification. I now take shelter of the Supreme Personality I've got it. 40. I am now completely satisfied and I have full faith in the Lord's mercy. Therefore, I will maintain myself with whatever comes of its own accord. I shall enjoy life with only the Lord, because He is the real source of love and happiness. So on this verse 40, we have a commentary of Bhaktivedanta Sarasvati Maharaj. He says, one never commits any sin or offense. One never commits any sin or offense if he utilizes all material objects in the service of Lord Krishna and accepts whatever comes of its own accord for his maintenance. Desire for material enjoyment arises as soon as there is an absence of the propensity to render loving service to the Supreme Lord. This is the root cause of all material miseries. While utilizing this natural propensity for serving the Supreme Lord, one is able to see everything within the material world as meant for the Lord's enjoyment, rather than for his own enjoyment. Thus one sees the material world as an opportunity for engaging in the devotional service of the Lord. In Krishna consciousness, one's conditional life is dissolved, and one becomes qualified to establish true friendship with other devotees in the course of rendering loving service to the Supreme Lord. So, as soon as you don't want to serve Krishna, material desires come. That is the commentary here. 41. The intelligence of the living entity is stolen away by activities of sense gratification, and thus he falls into the dark well of material existence. Within that well, he is then seized by the deadly serpent of time. Who else but the Supreme Personality of Godhead could save the poor living entity from such a hopeless condition? That 42. When the living entity sees the entire universe as being seized by the serpent of time, he becomes sober and sane, and at that time detaches himself from all material sense gratification. In that condition, the living entity is qualified to be his own protector. That is 42. So when we have this realization, then we become qualified for bhakti. Can someone read the purport, please? 42.
In this verse, Pingala states that by the Lord's mercy, a self-realized soul can see that the entire universe is existing within the jaws of the great serpent of time. Certainly, this is not a promising situation, and one who sees it loses his desire for sense gratification. Thus, by the Lord's causeless mercy, the spiritual sane living entity can protect himself from illusion. Should I read the second one?
Yes, continue. Since
Pingala is now glorifying the personality of Godhead for his mercy in awarding salvation, the following question might arise. Is she worshipping the Lord out of love, or she is merely salvationist, desiring liberation from material existence? In answering, it may be said that in her Krishna conscious situation, she is already liberated, even though remaining in the world. Her program will now be simply to render loving service to the personality of Godhead without any personal desire, including that of salvation.
So this purport says that Pingala is a Jivan Mukta. She is liberated. That 43. The Avadhuta said, thus her mind completely made up, Pingala cut off all her sinful desires to enjoy sex pleasure with lovers, and she became situated in perfect peace. Thus she sat down on her bed. Material desire is undoubtedly the cause of the greatest unhappiness, and freedom from such desire is the cause of the greatest happiness. Therefore, completely cutting off our desire to enjoy so-called lovers, Pingala very happily went to sleep. That I will read the purport of Bhaktivedanta Sarasvati Maharaj. on this last verse. That sense enjoyers are always disturbed in this world. They are always disturbed in this world of so-called enjoyment. Hiding somewhere nearby the path of renunciation, the threefold material miseries inspire careless transcendentalists to become enjoyers of perishable material objects whenever they get the slightest opportunity. The sinful desire for attaining fame, even while tied by the ropes of desires for material enjoyment, sometimes induces the conditioned soul to become servants of Ravana, Kamsa, Jarasandha, Agha, Baka, or Putana. If the conditioned soul turns off the temporary lamp of material desires and becomes attached to the lotus feet of the inhabitants of Raj, then all auspiciousness will be within their grasp. Pseudo-renunciation makes a living entity very proud. On the other hand, proper renunciation places living entities on the platform of pure goodness or transcendence. Until the lamp of the material desire is turned off, a devotee's desire for service of the lotus feet of Sri Radha cannot materialize. In this regard, one should completely contemplate on the meaning of this verse. Asabarer amrita sindamaye katanchit kalo mayati kamita kila sampatam me tvam se kripam may vidasya sinai vakim pane vajena savuro Bakarinapi. Oh, ravishingly beautiful Shiradi. I'm passing my days and night in torment with the singular hope that I may obtain the ocean of immortal nectar. So kindly show your grace upon me, deprived of your mercy. Of what use are my life residence in Vraj, or even servitorship to Krishna, enemy of Bakasura? Is Srila Raghunadas Goswami's Falapi Kusumanjali. Sri Gaura Sundar has taught us that the mood of separation is the best process for relishing the mellows of ecstatic love of Krishna. That is the mood of separation. So, if you have material desires, then we have become servants of demons in our heart. So we have to give them up to become servants of Sri Radha. That's the message of Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj. Well, Maharaj Prabhu, so please enlighten us.
I have a question here.
A question? Oh, yeah.
Is it not an example of Kripa Siddhi? We don't see her performing any sadhana, and yet she get highest realizations just by contemplation. I mean, we also contemplate. Well, we also sometimes come to these conclusions, but then very soon we forget and again drown in Maya.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, one lesson you told in the beginning that material desires keep one always in distress. That's one lesson. But then the remedy mentioned here is not practical for everyone because it appears like an example of kripa siddhi.
Mm-hmm. Well, that Kripa Siddhi or not, this higher taste you get only by the mercy of the Lord. But the process of devotional service is the process to get the mercy of the Lord. we are following Vaidhisana Bhakti, factually, we can only advance to get the mercy, if we can, the mercy of the Lord. Because we are in a vicious circle. Vicious means we can't get out. We perform offenses because of an offensive mentality. Because we are performing offenses, we cannot chant with purely, and our heart does not become purified. How to get out of it? The answer is we can get out of it by the mercy of a pure devotee. She got, seemingly according to our acharyas, the mercy of Tavaduta Brahman, although it's not mentioned in the verses, but they think that that is what happens. But it's a process of getting the mercy of the Lord. Also, our process is getting the mercy of the Lord. But of course, Kripa Siddhi means one gets the mercy without having to endeavor for it. But she went through a process that she went through a whole crisis to come there. So it was not one moment on another. She went through a process of creating the attachment, first frustration, then lamentation, then indifference, and then she became happy. She gave up the material desire. So we have also to go to this process. That's what Daksha said to Narada Muni. You have tricked my sons into premature renunciation. To be really renounced, you have to go to the process. You have to experience material life. They have to go to the Hyasta ashram. And then when they renounce, they will be truly renounced. But your renunciation is premature. So Prabhupada replies to that in the purport. This is not true. One does not have to experience it. But one can learn just by hearing the Bhagavatam. But that's also a process. And that's the process we are going through. She went to go to a process. And probably that went on already for some time. And that came now to the summit. That it's the drop that makes the bucket flow over. And she came to the right conclusion. But yeah, surely the association of Dattatreya may have helped. That's sure. But so Kripa Siddhi is a bit different. Kripa Siddhi, you don't have to go to the process.
Okay.
Just by mercy you get it. Yes, Maharaj.
Maharaj, then a further follow-up question could be, so as you said, it's the last drop to spill over. She was just waiting for it. So does it mean that she was already an advanced soul, spiritually advanced, who had somehow fallen in the trap of prostitution, and by now Krishna's mercy, she suddenly gets a eureka moment and realizes the futility of material pleasure and sustains the detachment?
Well, if you read the first canto, there Krishna is entering Dvarka. And the Brahmins come to glorify him with Vedic hymns. All the mothers, they look from a distance and embrace him in their heart. But also the prostitutes, they come to offer him their presence and offering him presents and praying for his blessings. It means in Dvarka there were prostitutes, but they were devotees of Krishna. By some way or other, by the force of our reactions on our misdeeds in previous life, you get a certain profession, and you have to accept it. But Krishna consciousness is so powerful; it doesn't matter. They can transcend it. It's like Prabhupada said about the prostitutes in Calcutta. Every day they were taking bath in the Ganga because they knew the Ganga was purifying them from sins, because it had touched the lotus feet of Krishna. So yeah, we can do our external and eternal may be different. Vritrasura was a demon externally, but a pure devotee inside. We cannot judge on these externals. So difficult to say. My Krishna, Maharaj Prabhu, what do you think?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you for your enlightening explanation.
Yeah, we try our best. Hari Lila Prabhu, please. Any comments?
Yes, Maharaj. You said that Kripasiddhi works differently, but somehow I tend to think that it is Kripasiddhi only because she didn't go through any sadhana process. It's just like that she was not getting customer one day, and within one night she goes from prostitution to self-realization. So there is no sadhana. We don't see any sadhana there. And one of the purport it is mentioned that Dattatreya, he stayed in her courtyard for some time, and then that's how she got her mercy. I just want to clarify because it looks more like, we don't see her doing any sadhana, we don't see her reading any scripture, we don't see her doing anything, or we don't hear of all those things. She is just a prostitute who is waiting for a customer. And then she has a realization.
Yes, she got certainly special mercy here. But still our Acharya says she went through a process inside. And that's the same process we need to go through. The process of frustration, that lamentation. Then after lamentation comes indifference. And then we let finally the desire go. And we become happy. So that's the process of giving up material desires. And therefore, that's the theme here. And in the next chapter, we will discuss how to develop this detachment from all that is material. So that will be the next chapter. But yes.
Sorry, Maharaj, to continue this line of discussion, but I just wanted to clarify because when we were small children, we heard this wolf which wanted to get the grapes, and then it was jumping, and then it was not able to get the grapes, and finally he rejected. Okay, these grapes are sour, and then he just walked off. So there also we see the same process that the wolf actually he tried to get the grapes, he jumped for it, he became frustrated, and then he became indifferent to the grapes, and he rejected, and then he happily walked away. But there is no element of self-realization with that wolf, because he didn't say that, oh, the super soul is residing inside, I am spirit soul. Of course, wolf cannot think like this, but I'm saying that a prostitute is no better than a wolf, because she is also pouncing on one customer to another customer, trying to extract the best from him. That's the reason why I'm kind of bit
But the difference,
unclear about this point, that
Yeah.
how that, even I have experienced that even when I was not a devotee, like I desire for something, then I cannot get it. I go through this process of frustration, indifference, and then decide, okay, this is not for me. Then I become happy because then I already start have another desire for some other thing which I can get. But I never went through the process itself is fine, like indifference, and then whatever. Then it comes to first lamentation, then indifference, and then rejection, and then happiness. One can go through this cycle from one desire to another desire without actually having become self-realized. So that's what is my, at least I want to clarify that.
yes, the example of the wolf and the grapes. Prabhupada gives that example of someone who has envy in his heart. The wolf cannot get the grapes, gives it up, becomes indifferent because he says because they are sour anyway.
Yeah.
So that is what Prabhupada says. So he had envy in his heart, but the prostitute was already a devotee of Krishna. And she had a relationship with Krishna in that sense, that she had faith in Krishna. And that's the difference between the faithless and those who have faith. Therefore, the process will be externally the same, but the last one who has faith will take shelter in Krishna. And the other one who has no faith in Krishna, he frustrated, and frustration is so heavy that one lets it go and gives a reason for that because of envy. So that's the difference between Pingala and this wolf who was envious. That yes, externally Pingala was prostitute, internally she was a devotee, but now she, by the mercy of Dattatreya, she got realization. She was a devotee, she speaks about Krishna in the heart. That philosophically very deep what she is saying. And she came to the conclusion, finally, by the mercy of Dattatreya, I give it up. So yes, process of frustration does not lead always to Krishna consciousness. Very rarely. Very rarely. Many reacts in many ways. Some become Buddhist. That Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita 4.10, he gives 3 kinds of frustrated men. 4.10. That and different reactions they have. That and that is so. If they don't have a connection with Krishna, that is what will happen. This different reaction. If you have 4.10 of Bhagavad Gita. 4.10 Bhagavad Gita.
Raga, Bhaya, and Krodha, Prabhupada is discussing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The person who has anger, who has fear, and who has attachment.
So it says here, some people are too materially attached and therefore do not give attention to spiritual life. That's the wolf. The Pingala is different. Some of them want to merge with the supreme cause, and some of them disbelieve in everything, being angry at all sorts of spiritual speculation out of hopelessness. So for the wolf to become to the situation of Pingala, Prabhupada writes in this purport, one has to get rid of all these states of material consciousness, attachment to material life, fear of a spiritual personality, and the conception of void that arises from frustration in life. To get free from these stages of material concept of life, one has to take shelter of complete shelter of the Lord, guided by the bona fide spiritual master, and follow the disciplines and regulative principles of devotional service. The last stage of devotional service life is called bhava, or transcendental love of God. These verses in the Bhagavatam about Pingala does not say that she is not following a sadhana. Because she prays very nice. She may have prayed before. That's a form of sadhana. So we don't know really. That this is our supposition that she did not have a sadhana, but could be there. But finally, it's not necessary to speculate on this. The lesson to be learned is the importance of becoming detached. And the process to become detached is the subject matter of the next chapter. That is.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Very question. Good. What's the time now? Yep. We are 4:45. We will resume at 5 and start chapter 9. Thank you very much. See you soon. Hare Krishna.